being recorded.
There you go.
It says I'm supposed to tell you that.
Ah, yeah, state mandates.
Okay, so that is your basketball from what year?
This is from last year. So we got little Layman action, little Myers action. I think we got some CJ action there.
Looks like a lot of them. I have.
It's the whole team. It's
see if I can reach mine.
It's fun to try to guess who's.
Yeah. I can't reach mine because it's too far away, but I have one that's signed by Will Barton.
There you go. Nice. There's Dame. So.
Yeah. With the little zeros.
Yeah, I just keep that one right here on a little stand. It's just for looks. I need honestly this room is like my like little hiding spot until the construction's all done.
You're in the middle of a remodel, right?
Yeah, so like my mini man cave was turned into a bedroom while everything else was being gutted. So
when it's all done, are you gonna have Nurkic wallpaper instead of just like one jersey hanging?
Just a little jersey in memoriam to his season. Yeah.
Oh.
Honestly, I wanted this one's actually. I think this is the semi nice one. I've got an actual Nurkic jersey. I've got that one. I've got a CJ and I've got a Dame that all need to get framed and go up with my my Brandon Roy one from his rookie year. So
that comes next. Well, hey, what's up, Blazer fans? Welcome to the Blazers Edge podcast. I'm Tara, joined as always by Blazers outsider Danny Marang.
Oh, well, hello.
Well, it's
from the man cave.
Yeah, I am anxious to see people's faces these days because we're all on lockdown.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I've got like the post-apocalyptic glow up trying to happen here.
Yeah, what does that mean? Please elaborate. What glow up is.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot that needs to happen. Let's be honest, but like
I was.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna bail on the whole idea of like trying to maintain like a keto diet through this. But I just said, you know what? Like, I'm not going to be able to do anything else. I'm going to have all the time in the world to cook.
Yeah.
So the only problem is like getting to the grocery store. Like tonight I went and there was literally no fresh chicken. So that's a little weird, right? But other than that, I'm sticking to it. My fiance talked me into doing some face masks and a little peel. Got some at home foot tangerine infused like foot stuff.
Okay.
We're going full in. Got some teeth whitening. I figure if we all come back from this, I'm going to come back on TV, the skinnier, brighter teathed, cleaner footed.
Everyone's going to be like, "Who's this guy?"
Well, no, everybody's going to realize it's still me because I'm still, me.
Then you'll open your mouth and everyone will be like, "Oh yeah,
that's him.
We remember him." Well, it's good to see your face. We haven't talked really since all this went down because we were not able to record last night. So I'm looking forward to just kind of hearing what was your reaction when all this started to go down? Were you watching the game that got like turned off before it even got started?
Yeah, so like Joe and I and our producers and the network were all discussing like the different options that were probably going to come our way. So we were in touch with various people who believed that we were going to play games with no fans. That was the assumption that we were going to operate under. We were going to continue playing games. And then, Rudy tests positive, and that's when the steamroll just happened. And we were all just kind of like, it was, I mean, we didn't really get clear communication. Nobody did. Not, and this isn't like to throw NBC under the bus. Like the league didn't have clear communication. So everybody's scrambling. And, for us, it was just like, okay, we have like 20 games left. And my immediate thought was, that's a quarter of my salary, and I was like, okay, what are we doing here? And like, it was pretty serious panic time for the most part. But then you got into like the basketball stuff that is my, as I want to do. And I didn't get into it, if that makes any sense. Like I was just like, I have not, the only thing that I watched, Joe text me last night. They had the replay of the April 7th regular season game on NBC last night. And Joe just texted me a screenshot of Joe Shane and I doing the post-game show. He said, just so you know, this is on right now. He's like, my DVR fired up and I had no idea why. And I looked up and I was like, but that's the first basketball I've watched. Like I
Mhm.
haven't been able to like bring myself to watch basketball, and it's been a little bit weird. I think we're gonna do a Google Hangout or Zoom or something like that for the upcoming replays that NBC's running. So I think we might do something with that. But I don't know about you. Like I haven't like basketball has fallen so far behind, and I'll be honest, I never thought that would happen. Like
Yeah.
because it's so far up, like outside of my fiance and my family, like that's the next thing, because it's not only my passion and like the things that I love to do, it's also my job. So
Mhm.
it's a really strange thing. Like what was your reaction when it all went down?
Well, my work kicked way into gear because of what I do. I have been working pretty much straight through since that happened. And so basketball has not been at the top of my mind. But just earlier this week, Cassidy and I were able to get together and talk with JB Hudson, your NBC Sports Northwest colleague. And it was so great to just have like this hour of like normalcy sort of
Yes.
as it is, because I had like you, I was just like there's just so many other things on my mind. But what was interesting is the whole time little things would trickle through to me from my non-basketball friends, where they would be like, oh, I'm really sorry about what happened with the NBA. And I was like, well, I mean, that's kind of like small potatoes compared to everything that's going on. But it was really, even for non-basketball people that I know anyway, it was the NBA that made this whole pandemic get really serious for them. It made
Yes.
people go. And then a few days later, it was Disneyland. And so if it wasn't the NBA, it was Disneyland that made everybody go, oh my gosh, this is super serious. But so I've started to listen to, because I was not ready to listen to any like modern podcasts about basketball, because it was just like, what are they going to talk about? And so I started
I mean,
listening to
Chris
some.
Haynes just dropped a
Oh
rap.
yeah,
So
I heard that. That's
that part of things happening right now. So
right,
yeah.
and we're only like a weekend.
Yeah.
But so I've been listening to this podcast called In All Airness, which is about the Michael Jordan era basketball, and hopefully we're gonna get Adam on here in a couple of weeks to talk to us.
And we do have
But
some coming up that will
yeah,
feature
exactly. So
Jordan.
I've gotten like, I've just thrown myself into the 1992 Trailblazers.
Which is a good year to
So
throw yourself in. Like, other than the
I
final
know.
outcome, it was a really good team.
I know. So that's kind of how I've been getting my basketball fix. But the other thing that because I think they did play one of those games from, I think, either the 90 or the 92 series on Hardwood Classics the other night. But one of the other things is that I love how earnestly the players in the NBA are trying to help spread the word and the message about this whole everything that's going on. And they are they're trying so hard to like do the right thing and share messages and encourage people to stay home and do all that stuff. And it got me thinking about like would every generation of NBA basketball players reacted in the same way? Or is it because of, how these guys have come up through the ranks over the last 10 years? They are all friends, and like everybody cares about everybody, and, they want to spread that. And they're, as soon as they come into the league, they are introduced to like social responsibility, if not even before. And so that's just like a part of who they are now.
On that token, like even for the folks that aren't, the corporations that they're a part of, whether it be the NBA or a shoe company or something along that line, like they're so ingrained now with like a positive, an image focus on things like this. And I'm taking this like at the lowest possible level, like for all those people that are out there who just like, oh, businesses just do things for, good publicity or whatever. Like if that's how you operate, that's fine. But like part of that is like, you look at what Nike is doing, like all of the Nike athletes, for those that don't know, and Nasir are both Nike athletes, and they're showing the indoor workout stuff. Like, here's how you can work out at home. Stay motivated, stay positive, stay physically fit. And the thing is like for those guys particularly, like it's a real thing. Like I've been talking to Ant on and off.
Yeah, they mean it.
Like they can't hoop right now unless they have a home gym. They can't hoop. Like that's like a lot of these guys, especially the veteran guys who've made a lot of money, they have a home gym. Like they have a the ability to work out and to play ball. But for a lot of these guys, they don't yet. Like, so this is their livelihood. So, like, everything that they've had, everything that they've done really for most of their lives, they can't do. And so they're trying to find ways to stay active, to stay motivated, to stay in the groove. Like, it's going to be really interesting when and if the league resumes this season, how guys look. And
I've been thinking a lot about that. Yeah, there's videos that they've been posting about, that are just really funny, like high school games of people like, but like you said, they can't do anything. They can't. I mean, think about how much is just predicated on knowing each other and the chemistry. And when you can't even be in the same, room space with each other for possibly, for weeks or months, like,
let's just go ahead and get out there. Like, it's going to be 60 days bare minimum.
It's going to be a long time.
Yeah. More likely it's going to be 90. Like, from who I've talked to, the consensus I've gotten from executives and people around the league is that we won't see basketball probably until late June. And that'll be without fans. So, which is crazy to think about.
I know. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't wonder why they don't just. I mean, I understand that there's reasons why they don't just shut it down, but in a lot of ways,
$1 billion.
I know.
That's no reason.
I get it, but also, like, Disneyland is closed. So, I mean, I'm not putting a moral judgment on whether or not they should. I'm just saying, it just seems like, might as well just cut it off. But I don't know anything about that. But what I'm curious about is, like, how much time are they going to have before they start playing games again?
What's happening? Are they going to play like regular season games? Are they going to do a tournament? Are they just going to go straight into the playoffs? Are they just going to do like a shortened season? They just take the top 4 seeds from each conference. Like, there's so many, like Spencer Dinwiddie threw out his March Madness style bracket idea. Like, there's so many permutations of what they could or couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And like the lasting effects of this, like, does the calendar change? Does the NBA all of a sudden start in December now? There's so many different, like, the report this morning, the teams are going to operate or are operating right now as if they're going to draft via Skype. Mm-hmm. Like, that's
I'm super curious to see if the Zoom hangout results are any worse or better. You know what I mean? Because also sometimes I wonder, like, do people spend too much time? Like, have they crossed the line where it's like, it seems to me like there's a limit at which, like, all of your advanced preparation, isn't any more useful. The more preparation you do, it's not going to give you any more value. So I'm super interested in seeing how, like, obviously, I want everybody to be well and survive, but also after that, like, the sociological things, and like if things change or if we just go right back to how we were. Anyway, a lot of unfinished business. I have called up the NBA Advanced Stats season leader page. So without looking, you're not looking at it, are you?
No. I have up the Skype video right now.
So who do you think is the season leader? Oh, who ends up as the season leader in points per game?
Who ends up with it?
Well, I mean, like, if the season ended today.
Is it still Harden?
Yeah, it'll still be Harden. Okay. Damian's number 5.
I say Dame's right there, and then
Bradley Beal has shot up to he's at 30.5, and then Giannis.
Right.
LeBron is not in points per game.
No, assists. LeBron leads the league in assists. Right?
Yes, LeBron leads the lead in assists. Hassan Whiteside's number 2 in rebounds and number 1 in blocks.
Who's number 1 in rebounding right now?
Andre Drummond.
It is Drummond still. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're both really close in that regard, I believe, right?
Andre Drummond's 15.2 and Hassan Whiteside is 14.2.
Okay.
I thought this one was interesting. 3-pointers made. So the first one is James Harden, followed by Buddy Hield, and number 3 is Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, no, I
didn't know he took that many threes.
Okay, so
I couldn't keep my eyes off him when he came to Portland.
Yeah, if I remember right, he was 8 of 11 from the field, and he was 8 of 11 from three.
I think he was 100 of 100, actually.
That sounds more correct. So he is
That's what I felt like.
He is this generation's Kyle Korver, except to like another level. He basically refuses to take anything other than threes, because he's so good at it, and he is going to be a guy who, like, I know you're going to kill me for saying this, who just stays around the league forever because he is so good at this one skill. And the way the Heat have used him, like, defensively, he's an issue. Like, he's problematic for the Heat to keep on the floor. But on the other side, he has so much stinking gravity that it just doesn't matter. Like, it's really cool to see a guy who has a skill set. Normally, like, we talk about siloed skill sets, right?
Right. I was going to say.
Yeah. But there's a threshold that you can pass.
Where if you're so good at that one thing,
that it doesn't matter. And that's what makes him so special. Like, if you look at his 3-point attempts versus his 2-point attempts, I want to say it's like 90% of his field goal percentage or field goal attempts are threes. Matt Moore at Hardwood Paroxysm, he put together, or he's putting together a thing on Duncan Robinson and how he works in the dribble handoff, because he is not only just a catch and shoot guy. They run him off flare screens and into DHO actions and put him in kind of that Portland flow weave action. And he's a guy that, like, his specialization is so valuable in today's NBA that you put him in like 4 or 5 different situations that defenses can't cover right now, because you can't be physical at the point of attack. You can't, like, blow up a screen really effectively without fouling. That the way the league is right now basically has optimized it for him to be the most successful. Like, when it's all said and done, this guy might end up taking and making the most threes ever if he stays in the league. Like, he has that kind of potential. And that's really weird to think about of like a role player, right? Like, normally you think of like Steph, you think of Clay, you think of Dame or Harden, like a superstar who gets shot volume. His guy gets shot volume, but it's all in one spot.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's like, yeah, they don't have to guard him anywhere else because he's not going to stop in any other location on the floor.
No, like, it's only when they absolutely positively run him off a spot that he has to take another spot. But the Heat do a fantastic job of putting him in positions because they've got Butler, because they've got other guys who can spread. I mean, think about this. The team has Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to like be that guy, but when's the last time an NBA team had 2 like really good white hoopers on the team? And it's weird to see. You look at them and you're like, huh, all right, well done. Because usually they come out and they're the Jimmer Fredette types who kind of flare out, but like, they've got some guys down there that it kind of break the mold a little bit. And it's kind of funny to see in contrast to what we normally are used to from, the average white guy.
Well, moving on, there's a lot of unfinished business. I'm wondering for you, when it comes to the Blazers, what are the things that are most like you're just feeling the most unfulfilled about? Like, what's the unfinished business for you with the Blazers?
The guillotine blade dropping on the season. Just the firm cut of the end of the season. That's kind of what I'm waiting for. The weird thing about this whole situation is we were all prepared to see Nurk come back. And now that calf strain looms so just crappy, because he was going to be back sooner. Mm-hmm. If he not had the calf strain, he was going to be back sooner. And, his representation, they worked with him to make sure that they got the most exposure when he came back. So they planned it for the Rockets game on Sunday afternoon on national TV. And it was going to be this big whole thing. We were preparing some stuff at NBC to do alongside it. Hey, all right. I got the mute off before the sneeze. But everything that fell apart there, it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, for those people watching the video, like, there's a Nurk jersey hanging behind me because it's just like, that's my guy. Like, I love watching him. Like, when he first returned to the court for pregame warmups, he ran past us and I saw him go out on the floor and I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? And you could feel the energy in the arena. You could feel all the other reporters, all the other players, the broadcast team. There was like a general sense of just like, yeah, everybody's smiling, and you feel the energy in there. And to just have that just come to a screeching halt, and you could see it from Nurk, like he, rightfully so. He's bothered by it. I mean, you've seen what he said on social media. He's disappointed, and I mean, imagine thinking that you finally were coming back, and then it's not a. I've seen some folks, or I've heard some people say, "It's like, I don't know, in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter?" I'm like, to Jusuf Nurkic, yeah, it does. Like, that's the thing. Yeah. It's like it's a big deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the worst parts of this whole thing for me. With regards to the Blazers, is that he never got to come back on the court and feel how happy everybody is for him. Yeah. Because, I mean, we can all tweet at him and tell him and send him cards and send him gifts and do everything we can to help him understand how much he means to this organization and to the fan base. But until he stepped out on the court and did something and we got to cheer for him for a basketball reason again, I feel like that's just like heartbreaking to me, because you can't fake that in any other, you can't like recreate that in any other way. Him doing a basketball thing and all of us just losing our minds because he makes a dunk,
Like, I just keep picturing in my head, or listening to this sound in my head of, Nurk catching on a pick and roll and finishing a dunk, and then Mark Mason with his that perfect voice that he has with the Jusuf Nurkic and the hard staccato when Nurk would score, and speaking in Bosnian in his introduction, like that's. Like, even thinking about that just gives me a little bit of goosebumps, because I know what that's supposed to sound like. And for those who didn't see, like, I posted some pictures when he was warming up the last game before the season was canceled. He was in his uniform. Like, he was
I know, that was so cute. He was full on in his uniform.
Yeah, and like I think part of that for him was like the step of like realizing that it's that close. It's real. It's gonna happen. Here we go. And, feeling that, going out and warming up and being in that presence again. And, I think it was something that for him, he needed.
Yeah.
To be away from the game for so long. Like, the other guy that I think about is like Kevin Durant. If this season ends up like being canceled, he's basically not going to play basketball for 2 years. Like, that.
Well, until it starts up again. If it starts up again in December, that's like a year and a half.
Well, I mean, like the amount of time it's going to be before he's able to play in a real game again. It's just like you start thinking about these guys that are injured, and it's like, now for the guys on the Blazers, obviously they're nicked up. Let's say the season resumes, right? Nurk's going to be as healthy as he's going to be. There's no in between, right? There's going to be enough time now. Hood's not going to be, but let's say the season
Collins might be
late June. Zach's probably that. My reservations about Zach being healthy by then will be good. Like, I mean, we're basically 7 months removed then.
You mean you'll feel like if they say he's ready, he's ready?
Yes, because at this point in time, I was like, if the season was still going, he was slated to be reviewed about now. So
yeah.
And I know Zach said he was going to come back mid-March. And I mean, listen, Zach and really any NBA player is going to say they're coming back as soon as humanly possible.
Right.
Like Rodney has said that he thinks he's going to be good to go by training camp.
Yeah.
Again, awesome. Have that mentality, but I'll believe it when I see it,
Yeah.
But
well,
these guys
as far as
up, like, that's the thing I think that as far as like, if you want to be myopic and look at something small, as far as the Blazers are concerned, that could be something cool. Like, you could see more guys back healthy.
Yeah, we are definitely looking forward to that. But like, as far as it translates into basketball, I was really, really, really waiting for Nurkic to come back, because I wanted to see if Portland was going to be able to do the same thing that they did when they traded Mason Plumlee for Jusuf Nurkic and just instantly get better on defense.
I mean, I think they will.
I wanted to see if it would happen.
Even being rusty when they come back, I still think it'll be a marked difference. just because of how he plays, and he does have a relationship with guys and understands. Maybe the timing's not perfect, but I think his natural skill set and his understanding and his basketball IQ is better than Hassan's. And
Right.
so like that alone just would elevate them. But yeah, seeing him being introduced back into the flow as things were before the games were canceled, I think that would have been cool among a million other things to see Nurk back on the floor for.
I right before, everything all, went sideways. I sort of had been fixating on the before and after of that trade when he first came to Portland and everybody caught Nurk fever. And at that point, it was not a matter of him knowing the team. It was just the matter of his skill set fitting perfectly. So I was kind of wondering about how, if we could sort of recreate that kind of magic, having now also enjoying the benefit of him being already connected and having chemistry with the team. But the other thing that I was really curious to see how it was going to turn out, what was going to happen with Hassan Whiteside when Jusuf Nurkic came back. That was a big question on everybody's mind. People had very strong opinions.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be something that even if the season doesn't resume and then it comes back next year, I still think Portland makes an offer to Hassan. And we'll talk about the financial implications of what may or may not happen with this season here in a little bit. But I still think that as far as like familiarity and, being in a place where he's probably appreciated or feels appreciated, I'm talking about Hassan, obviously, they take a look at him. There's probably a mutual understanding there. But, I mean, there's a reason why we've heard from Jason Quick in his reporting where Nurkic had to be handled a particular way when it came to the trade for Hassan Whiteside, and how they had to assure him that the same situation that happened in Denver was not going to happen here. Mm-hmm. And obviously
they just need me to talk to Nurkic regularly. Like if I just had like a weekly Skype call with him, I could like have him feeling so good and so, so loved by this fan base. I think I could do it.
I think you could too. The big thing is you would have your biggest hurdle to overcome would be the
not knowing his language.
Well, that and the minutes problem, because there's only 48 minutes on the floor, and Zach seems to think he's a 5, and I think he's good as a second unit 5. And if you have Hassan Whiteside, Zach Collins, and Jusuf Nurkic, that's not going to work. You two of those guys can't play the 4. That's not a thing. And Hassan has said multiple times that he's much happier here because he's playing 30 minutes a game and not losing minutes to another guy like he did in Miami and with Bam Adebayo. Jusuf Nurkic, while not a 35-minute a game guy, wants to play more minutes. He has to show that he can play those minutes, 30 plus, but he definitely doesn't like the fact he's not thrilled about the idea of having somebody there who's immediately cutting into his minutes regardless. And I think it's a situation that it's not great for Portland because I don't think either guy would be thrilled about coming off the bench, particularly Nurkic. And neither guy is going to be thrilled about playing 24 minutes a game. I don't think that's likely in any case.
I guess that's why I was really happy that we were going to have this short run, to get a look at the end of the season, to see how they liked it and to see if they could be like, oh, we could make this work, or if they could be like, you know what, we're gonna make it through this, but this isn't gonna work long term. Like we won't have like it was kind of a nice built-in little trial period.
Yeah, you can see immediately
how that might go.
Oh yeah, no, this is gonna be a nightmare, and then go another way, or
work. Oh, yeah. I mean, I tend to forget that Hassan is almost 31.
Yeah, he's
so he's
older.
Maybe he's ready to play less minutes. We don't know, and I guess we'll just still have to wait a little bit longer to find out. I don't know. The other big looming thing with the Blazers, of course, was were they going to make the playoffs? Like, I mean, all the logic that I have in my head says no, they're not, but of course they are. It's because it's the Blazers. It's never predictable. Like when you look at the standings, when you look at how all the other teams are doing, when you look at some of their more recent performance against poor teams and whether or not how they were able to perform. I mean, when we went down to Phoenix and we watched that Phoenix game, I was with my friend and we were walking away just kind of like depressed about the game. And I asked my friend, right. Well, and I was like, what about that game bothers you the most? And she said, it just didn't look like a team that's ready for the playoffs. Like that team does not look like, if they make it to the playoffs, they don't look like a team who's ready for it.
Yeah.
Or built for it.
And if you want to get like Blazer centric, where you could look at things beyond just the health, let's be honest, they were playing like crap. And mentally, they probably weren't in a good place. Like they were not like, we heard a lot of the platitudes of, just one game at a time and we got to win every chance we get. And it didn't sound good. Like what was being said didn't match up with what was happening on the floor in any way, shape, matter, or form. And I think a lot of that has to do with, because I'm not saying they were giving up, but mentally they were beat. Like they were like, for the first time, they were just beat. They were just taking one punch too many. And that happens in any sport. Like the fact that they've gone this many years with Damian Lillard and been this successful, like this is not normal. That's not a thing that happens. And we've been spoiled by that. Normally you get injury issues. You get dealt a bad hand. And it just so happens that Portland just got dealt one that was just one after another, after another, after another.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, it's like, it's natural human nature, even for the most devout, hardcore, just leader of men, Damian Lillard types. That little bit of doubt starts to creep in when you have a really crappy first quarter, when you need to get out there and take care of business like they did in Phoenix, just absolutely lay an egg. And then you're like, oh no, here we go again, because you've taken so many punches. This like, you have to treat every season as its own different entity, right? Like all the momentum and everything the Blazers had last year doesn't mean it carried over to this year. And I think a lot of times that gets lost, that last year doesn't matter because it's a new group. There's always some new tweak. There's always injuries or a schedule machination or somebody has a baby. There's always something different that happens. And so if the season does resume, this time off may give these guys enough time to clear their head to where, I'm not saying they're going to play better, because they're probably going to play ugly, but everybody's going to play ugly basketball. But maybe that is enough for them to be like, to divorce themselves from the first 60 games. Like, okay,
just put it behind them.
Yeah.
That happened.
And I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs if they resume and play the whole season or anything like that, but perhaps they get enough of a positive mindset to where they can dump what that part of the season was, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I also think it's just, things happen, weird things happen to teams all the time. We're not the only team that weird things happen to. And it's just almost so perfect that this is the season where maybe they weren't going to make the playoffs. And now we don't even know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the Nets. Yeah. They signed Kevin.
The streak may continue. Did you rewatch the Houston game that was on the other night? The 2014 Damian Lillard, first shot?
I've watched that game so many times that I saw it was coming on. I was like, nah, I'm okay.
Yeah, I watched it. I watched that game because
I want games
every time.
Too.
I know the LaMarcus games. I do like to watch that game. Yeah, those were really good. But what I was gonna wait, hold on. What I was gonna say about that was I was listening to the broadcaster and I forgot that was the first time in 14 years that they'd made the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And that just kind of really hit me when I was watching that. I was like, wow, we have
they made the playoffs. They advanced.
They advanced. Sorry. Yeah. That they had advanced in the playoffs. But we had just taken things for granted after this last run, that, the Blazers are always going to,
Yeah, 20
advance
plus years in the playoffs in a row and getting to the NBA finals multiple times. That'll change your perspective when you grow up around a franchise that consistently is one of the top 5-6 franchises in the league.
Yeah, and it just makes that last year that much more astounding anyway. Let's talk about what you think this might mean for next year, because there's so much to think about and I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, this is the thing that's caught my eye the most, is that right now, without any of this stuff happening, Portland was going to be limited in their financial resources and what they could do in the offseason. And we're talking about a team who's, one of the highest cap payroll teams in the league. And obviously they underperformed. A lot of that had to do with injuries, but a lot of that had to do with the fact that the roster was not set. And don't believe Olshey when he said that Whiteside was never on the block. Whiteside was always on the block. I just want to make sure we get that out there.
Well, he said it when he brought him over.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so it's like,
the thing is, I still get people but Olshey said, no, he's doing what every general manager in his position is supposed to do. It's sell, 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 sell. I don't it frustrates me to my core, but I get why he did it. Yeah. But the Blazers brought in Bazemore and Whiteside, and they swung and they missed. That's what happened. And now they're in a predicament where, let's say the season doesn't resume, and they don't know what they have in Jusuf Nurkic. And you don't know how he is mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. You don't know. And you maybe need insurance. Now, we don't know how the relationship is. I know, but I mean, you don't.
I know.
As an organization, you have to have questions. You always have to ask these questions. And, you don't know what the dynamic could be between him and Hassan. You don't know if those guys are going to be happy. And now your resources may be much more limited. If the season doesn't resume, the estimated losses right now is $1.2 billion. That's enough to make the cap slide roughly $9 million. Now, that's not, as we were talking before the pod, that's not as big as the cap increase that we saw in 2016, which was a $24 million increase. But what that does is that drops Portland from, having a little bit of space to having effectively none. And you have to resign Hassan Whiteside then, because you have his bird rights, so you can go over the cap. But now how do you make any other changes? You don't have the ability. So what does the league do this? How many are teams going to be punished who thought they were going to have a cap space at X, but in fact it's at Y? Does the league allow teams to be over and be at the expected cap? There's so many questions that come out of this as far as the CBA goes about how a team's going to operate. If you look around the league, the Lakers, they might run into an issue with resigning Anthony Davis now. You think about that for a second, you're just wait a second, the money that was supposed to be there may not be at exactly now. But then again, you look at other teams.
Send them to Charlotte. They got a lot of money, right?
They're gonna have a ton of money now. But you look at the teams that are set as far as their roster construction. The 76ers have Embiid and Simmons locked up. The Celtics have Brown and Tatum locked up. The Clippers have Kawhi and PG. You look at these teams who have guys locked up, and you look at the Blazers, and you're like, yeah, they have Dame, CJ, and Nurkic, and they've got the young guys and Ant and Gary, and Zach. But beyond that, you're like, Rodney's coming back from an Achilles injury, and you don't know what you have in him. He's probably going to opt in. His is a hard fixed number. It's $6.5 million. So if he opts in, poof, your cap's gone. If the salary cap falls the expected, how are you supposed to manage that now? And if you sit here and look at the tea leaves, I wouldn't be surprised if the team was sold between now and this time next year. So what does that do for the market of this team, not knowing the financial situation? These things all matter, as far as the big scope things, as far as top level from ownership down to in valuation of the franchise and who you have locked up and whether you're in the red, whether you're in the black, what salary cap is, all those things all matter. And then you get to the team level stuff and how Portland is fixated on improving this team in the prime of Damian Lillard's career. If you guys have listened to this podcast for any period of time, how badly I want this team to build around Damian Lillard the right way. And I have
your way. You want them to build around your way.
No, I mean the right way, in that they're successful in building a team that it makes a real championship run. Whether that's my way or not, I just want it to be done the right way. And I don't know, like, if it makes it more or less likely for them to be risky. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because this is uncharted territory. And so, like, what does Portland do in this situation now? Because no matter what, the financial impact is going to be there. That's just the reality of it. But
and
how
I mean,
much of it?
Right. I mean, other teams are also going to be impacted. I guess what you're thinking is that the teams who are already high-level contenders are going to suffer less than the teams that are a tier behind them trying to get into high-level contention.
Yes. Like, so in this weird spot where their salary is very high, but I still think they're a step below when they need to be a true title contender. And what we thought was going to be the pieces to do things, now we're just sitting here like, eh. And if you're a free agent this offseason, now you've got to be sitting here going, you have got to be kidding me, because that's a lot less money on the market.
Yeah. That's because
it's the anti-2016.
Yeah. It's amazing to think, because we looked this up before we got on, because we were like, okay, if it drops like $10 million, how big of a drop is that compared to the spike? It's not even half of what the spike was. The spike was 24 million.
Yeah, and here's the other part of this. Let's say that
that's just how crazy that spike was.
It could go even easier. And by that I mean, this next year may be a complete disaster for the salary cap. But let's say things return to full normalcy a year after next. You could have a cap jump from 108 million to like 134 million. Like, it,
because aren't they also signing a new cable agreement in a couple of years too?
In a couple of years, yes. I think they've got 2 or 3 years left on the deal. But the NBA PA, or the MBPA, they opted to not go for cap smoothing in 2016. I wonder if potentially the year after next, they're like, let's go for cap smoothing this time. So everybody who's, up for a contract over the next couple of years gets paid, as opposed to everybody this 1 year.
Right.
But we could see this massive recession for a year, and then a massive
it just go straight back up.
Yes, and that just makes team building that much more difficult, and stringing things out. You know, a team who has a 25, 26, 27-year-old superstar may be in a better position than, say, a team that has a 30, 31, 32-year-old superstar, because they can afford to wait that extra year for that next free agency class when there's so much money on the table. There's so many permutations that could happen.
Yeah. My mind just went back to Anthony Davis in Charlotte with all that sweet, sweet Jordan money.
Tell you what, he looks good in stripes. Like when North had the pinstripe jerseys, like those look good on him. I could see him rocking some Charlotte throwback at Larry Johnson's. I could see it.
Well, that kind of brings me to the unfinished business of the league. And for me, one huge unanswered question that I just really, really wanted to know was who was going to be the better team, the Lakers or the Clippers.
And
I was just sitting down to start really, really watching, the end of the season to figure out what I thought about that.
Well, I mean, right now, if you crown the last team to beat the Lakers, it's the Nets. The Nets are your NBA champion. They're the last team to beat the Lakers. So it's kind of funny to think about it. Like, there's been this whole theory of, like, what if they resume the season and Kyrie's back and Kevin Durant's back? It's like, sudden the Nets are the super team. I don't really buy into it, but it's fun to think about.
I feel like that combination.
It's cuckoo. There's no doubt about it.
I just think you I'm just not sure that the chemistry, the chemical balance there between the two players is the right mixture.
That's one way to put it.
Well, no, I mean, because I'm thinking about like, experiments where you add like, the baking soda to the vinegar and it like explodes, but then you add something else to it and immediately just goes flat. And, just trying to think about who would be who in that situation. But like, I mean, who do you think is better, the Clippers or the Lakers?
Clippers. They have more depth. Clippers?
Oh, he said you were trying to make a combination of the Lakers plus the Clippers.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a really good team. Kawhi, Paul George, Anthony Davis, LeBron.
You think the Clippers are better?
Yeah, as good as LeBron is, and right now I think he's the second best player in the league behind Giannis. When the Clippers have been healthy, they've basically run over everybody. And that's the thing, like
if they're healthy and if they're all present and if their heads are all in the game and if they feel like it.
That's the thing. I think they're a team that they turned on. Okay, remember, this Laker team has dropped games they shouldn't drop. They've gotten beat by the Grizzlies. They've gotten beat by the Blazers. They've gotten beat by lesser teams, more than a handful of times. And when you look at the way the Clippers are constructed, they can run two whole units at you. The Lakers can't do that. And while the Lakers would, like in the playoff scenario, they could try to buy minutes with some of their bench guys. The Clippers bench wins those minutes. They win them handily. And that's where I think it comes down. Everybody talks about how the stars play 40. Sure. And I get that. But you just look at that Clipper team and I'm a LeBron guy. It's just hard for me to look away from Paul George.
I think you got to have personality to win a championship, but I think last year was the exception that proves the rule.
Well, I mean, the Spurs have existed for years too. They won a lot of titles without a whole lot of pizzazz.
Yeah, but they had personalities.
Sure, they had.
I mean, Ginobili was a personality. I mean, they had personality, and I know they also all had Kawhi. But and maybe he is just this. Maybe he is the secret ingredient or whatever. But but right now Doc Rivers is the one on that team that has personality.
And Lou and Bev. As much as I don't like Pat Bev, they've got
Beverly does too,
and Harrell. Like they've got some guys on that team who've got some chutzpah.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't think it's cut and dry though, and I really, really wanted to see that play out in a round of the playoffs. I really, really wanted to see that. I don't know, anything else that's like hanging that you think league wise is like unfinished, unanswered questions that you were really hoping would resolve themselves?
No, the only questions we're asking like right now is who's the best gamer in the league. That's
at video games.
Yeah, I mean that's the questions we're asking right now, and it's like, it's
but that we can actually find out from the comfort of our own homes.
Just been fun. Like we've had plenty of opportunities to just kind of sit back and not just that, like watch these guys do things outside of basketball, like
but still inside their house.
Yeah, I mean, Patty Mills is out here learning how to play the guitar. Jamal Murray,
I missed that one.
Yeah,
I
leave that one.
I did not go back to look. I also still haven't ever done, Dan. I've never Googled Evan Fournier either.
No,
everybody says that, but nobody says why.
Name is never Googled for a reason. Do not do.
But why? You gotta tell. Maybe you could tell me off the air.
Off the air, I will tell you off.
Just like
it is not good, and that when I think it was Matt Moore that gave him that nickname. It is still one of the most like I was like, oh, it can't be that bad. I was like, oh God.
I just can't. It's just like the best kept secret in the world because everybody says don't Google it, but then they never say what you're going to see. And I think every once in a while society does a really good job at like not telling people things. Like they kept the red wedding secret. Like I think that is like the greatest accomplishment of civilization, that all of us who knew what was going to happen in the red wedding didn't say anything. I think that like humanity can like check the box off on that one. That was an impressive feat. And also Googling Evan Fournier.
That's a good one. Real quick, what has been your thing that you've done over the last 2 weeks that you wouldn't have done otherwise?
I honestly, sadly, it's working because my job has just kicked up into like a higher gear than I've worked more than I have the last 2 weeks than I have in my entire life. And I'm not somebody who likes to work. I love my job though, fortunately. And so I've had like one thing that's been happening the last 2 weeks that's happened more so than at ever point in my life is all my work meetings ending with "I love you" and "I miss you."
And people like generally like take care. Like no, seriously.
No, seriously. Like I really like I love you and I want you to be well and like, yeah. So I'm doing that. And I've been playing the guitar. And I've been going for lots of long walks in my neighborhood, which I do anyway. But like, because the weather's been so incredible, I wanted to get out as much as I possibly could. Yeah. Like, I know, but it's about ready to get really sucky again.
Of course it is.
But like we have a beautiful cherry tree in our front yard, and I keep taking a picture of it every day because I'm like, this is going to be the day that like the rain's going to come and wash all of the cherry leaves off of it. But so far, yeah, it's been beautiful. How about you?
I mean, if you've been
keto diet.
Yeah, I've been following along Twitter, a lot of dieting. Like I said, I'm down like 25 pounds now. So
wow, in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
That's not healthy, Dan.
No, in a little bit more than a month. So, because I started probably about 2-3 weeks before this whole thing happened.
What are you watching on TV?
I just started watching Breaking Bad yesterday, and I've never seen it before. It's kind of funny. There's a lot of shows out there that are like the critically acclaimed. Everybody has like binge watch shows that I just don't watch. I don't watch a lot of TV. Like there are very, very few shows that I just watch. I'm more of a movie guy or I'm a video game guy. And obviously I've been, streaming with Anthony and a couple other guys. I'm hoping to put some things together with a couple other guys.
Who's better? Are you better than him? Are you taking him to school?
No, he's actually good. He's got me by a step. He is 20 years old. So I can still hang, and that he will attest to. But like I'm using streaming as much as I love playing video games. I'm using it as a platform to learn new things. Yeah. So I'm developing a Twitch channel, and a lot of what I'm doing is I'm using Photoshop. I'm using like the whole Adobe suite, and I'm using the Twitch channel to learn these different things. How to like build my own logo, how to go about doing motion graphics. And so I've got this extra time because my job is talking about NBA basketball. And by the way, this is a little bit personal, but I wanted to share this because there's been some cool stories out there. NBC came forward and paid me and other people games that we weren't going to get paid for. Mm-hmm. So there are companies out there, and I want to take a moment to thank the Trailblazers too, because they've gone out and they've taken care of the broadcast team. They've taken care of all of the people. I believe Jody Allen donated $1.4 million of relief money solely dedicated to paying people. And in a time like this, that's a really, really cool thing. And I know everybody has their opinions on the rich and all those kind of things, but they don't have to do these things. And it's cool to see that happen. And so a big thank you to those guys that allow us to get, be able to do these things and take care of us when they didn't have to. And so because of that, I'm able to now take this time and be with my family and not panic, and not be in a position where I'm wondering what's going to happen over the next 3 months, So for those who don't know, people like me who work as quote unquote talent, we're contractors. So the way things work for unemployment for us is a little bit different. So it's a very, very cool situation that they put us in this regard. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing, is trying to learn new things, try to incorporate them, so that, when I start writing again about the season, I can do more illustrations. I can, make the package look a little bit better, a little bit more professional, a little bit more ESPN-y with, highlighting certain things and doing certain transitions and just making it look more professional. So I would advise anybody else out there who has the opportunity to do those kind of things right now. Like, you're not going to be quarantined all that often. Take advantage of it if you can.
Right, King Lear. Right?
Yeah. Read, write, do whatever, like learn, like do things, like set a goal, find a way to do something. Like, don't just sit in your house and try to make it through it.
Well, right. I mean, like, not to get too dark or anything, but like there's definitely been over the last week some times where I'm just like, I just get freaked out about stuff. Like, for some reason, like when Kenny Rogers died, that just like freaked me out. I just was like, oh God. I mean, and I know it has nothing to do with like the pandemic that's going on, but it was just, I don't know. That was really tough. And then the other thing is I was thinking about today is like, I really miss my Special Olympics team. And like we're on a hiatus and it was supposed to start up again in April. And like, now I'm not going to be able to see him. And it's just like, oh, that just breaks my heart that, you know, cause I know everybody was looking forward to it and we were going to, get to go do track and it was going to be really fun. And now that's going to be put off. And I don't like know how to get a hold, there's people out there that I don't know how to get a hold of. And so I'm just going to have to wait until this all blows over. Anything like kind of been hit you like deeply?
Yeah. I mean, the big thing for me is that, like right now I'm in the middle of a remodel. Like I have no kitchen in my house. Like I have a camping stove. And I'm trying to get everything done so I can sell the place.
You have a barbecue outside, don't you?
I do have a barbecue. Those are the things that I'm operating with right now. Which
my husband actually cooks outside. Probably like he's the cook in the house. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know how to cook, but he's the main, and he probably cooks outdoors like 3/4 of our meals year round.
Yeah, that's kind of how I operate, but I like to have the ability to do other things.
And knowing that you can cook inside.
And like I have zero counter space, so there's like nothing to prep. And I know these are very, very first world problems, but like again, trying to stay on this diet and everything like that. But I need to get this done so that I can get my new house. And like I'm worried about, everything economically, with a housing market.
And a wedding to plan.
Exactly, and a wedding to plan. And so I've got all of these like big time top tier world issues that in my relationship with my fiance, like having all of this come together at once, just like, okay, sure. And like, not knowing what's going to happen with the season because it's my career. Like, when does the next season start? Am I doing work in the summer? Like this is like my own personal stuff. And then, my fiance's parents are much older. And so she's worried about this whole situation, and she works she's the HR business partner for the state of Oregon for the unemployment department. So she's about one of the busiest people on the face of the planet right now. And trying to manage all these things at once, it's just been like eye-opening. It's just like, okay, this is real. This is serious. And I said this out on Twitter, and I want to make sure I mention it here again before we get going. If you or anybody else out there, if somebody if you're struggling, if you need a hand, please don't hesitate to reach out. My DMs are open for a reason. I will answer everybody. I will answer anything. I may be a loud, obnoxious jerk, but I'm also the guy that you can count on to come pick you up at 3:00 in the morning when your car breaks down. You can ask anybody who knows me. And if I can't help you, I will try to find a way to help you, or somebody else who can. If you're afraid to go out to the grocery store, if you're physically unable to do something, or you don't know how to do something, please reach out. Like I said, my DMs are always open. If there's anything I can do to help, I know a lot of people feel the same way. The big thing is don't be afraid to ask for help. And in times like this is where you
accept it.
Yes, and that's the thing. It's like it's okay. This may sound kind of weird, but because of what I did in the military, like I've seen a lot of what the worst the world has to offer. And with that, I've kind of been through situations where like I've been in war-torn regions all over the world. And the biggest thing you can do to combat this stuff is to come together and not fall apart. And to do that, you need to lean on each other. And the biggest thing you need to do beyond that is to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And if you can't take care of yourself, ask somebody to help you. Because if you can't do that, it's not going to be good. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Come together, reach out, take care of one another. Make sure you take care of yourself too.
I don't know how to follow up on that. I think we should just go ahead and wrap it up. That was beautiful. That was really well said, Dan.
Well, every now and then I have something.
All right. Well, it's been a delight to see your face.
It's
been much too long. We were supposed to see each other on Blazers Edge night. Was supposed to be the other night. We were gonna watch. Anyway, not gonna dwell on that. We'll keep recording when we've got stuff to talk about, and we'll
have some guests lined up. So
we'll keep going as long as people want to listen.
Yeah, for those who are interested, like I've reached out to a couple of players in the league that they've got free time now, so it looks like we're going to have a couple of those guys here on the podcast in the coming weeks. So I'll ask for question submissions and stuff like that as the dates and times get locked in, and we'll have probably a couple guys from the team on the pod here in the next couple of weeks.
And I will try very hard not to embarrass myself. Tell me what your mom is like. Just warn them all that's going to be a question.
I think that's a fair question.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope everyone is well. I love you all. I mean it. I can be found on Twitter at TCBBiggs. I'm not on it as much these days as I usually am, but I still get a Hallmark movie reference off every once in a while. Of course, you can find the Blazers Edge podcast in the Blazers Edge podcast feed. Subscribe to that. You'll get the weekly podcast, or as much as we can do weekly, as well as the Hoops and Talks podcast. We had a great one last week where we talked to Jamie Hudson. She's just a breath of fresh air in the middle of all this. So I encourage you to go listen to that after this one if you haven't already. Dan, why don't you take us out of here?
All right, folks, as always, you can find me on social media not on social media because they still won't give me my stinking Instagram handle. You can find me on Twitter at Danny Marang. I tried to get it, Tara. They won't relent. They won't let me streamline it all. It's killing me. But you can find me on Twitter at Danny Marang, at DANNYMARANG. And as always, my DMs are open. All of my social media handle stuff is all listed in my Twitter profile. So if you want to get a hold of me another way on Instagram, on Twitch, whatever else, it's all there. For Tara, for everybody else, thank you guys for listening. Stay safe. Take care of one another. Take care of yourselves. And we'll catch you all next week. Bye.